Hello and welcome to Newsline, and the pleasure is mine having you join us on the program. Our package tonight is quite inspirational. Many people do not realize the potential of the NYSC, that's the National Youth Service Corps. Now, besides having to serve the nation in new locations, I can tell you there are many things happen at the orientation camps. While some people gain knowledge and survival skills, others find love and, of course, have beautiful lifelong memories of where they served. Tonight, we will share with you what an NYSC member is doing with the survival strategies learned at the orientation camp. Now, finding a wife is not easy nowadays. I mean, what more a good wife? But what does it really take to find a good wife? As Reba McEntire sang in her song, Reba, which says, "Nothing good comes easy." Newsline tonight will present to you the secret of someone who went in search of a good wife. And if you stay on the line, you probably will get to know where he found her. All right, now, for 2 consecutive Sundays, our indefatigable correspondent, Ijoma Ugoge, has been reporting on events in Sin community in Kana local government area of Rivers State. Tonight, she brings us an update on the incest story reported on Newsline some weeks ago. Now, from Akwa Ibom State to Maiduguri, we will also bring you strange but true stories. Stories you probably would never contemplate or even imagine. And again, if you stay with us on the line, you will get to see an instance where someone claims to hear a strange voice that instructs him to kill, while others take up jobs no one would deliberately venture into. Now, death is inevitable, but people often dread it because of what it represents, the unknown. In fact, it is the ultimate unknown. It's even more emotional when the victim is a young person full of life. But is it true that death can also be a new dawn for the bereaved? We have a story that perhaps could help us clear our perceptions. And what is Newsline without culture and tradition? East, west, north or south? Our rich cultural heritage is the backbone of our identity. Our culture and traditions reflect in our everyday life, from the food we eat, the clothes we wear, our music and dances, weddings, naming ceremonies, festivals, you name it. They're all celebrated in adherence to culture and tradition. And who knows, tonight, your community might just be on the line. Now, you have an idea of what's to come tonight. So let me take a sip of water while our own Queen Elizabeth Omori takes the news. And by the way, Elizabeth, when is the coronation?
Well, Claire, I'm actually still waiting for the proclamation. Really, I'm waiting. All right, thank you so much for joining us on the news segment. President Bola Tinubu is expected to open the African Counter-Terrorism Summit in Abuja on Monday, April 22. Nigeria, with the support of the United Nations Office of Counterterrorism, is organizing a high-level African Counter-Terrorism Summit under the theme Strengthen Regional Cooperation and Institution Building to address the evolving threats of terrorism. The objective of the summit is to enhance multilateral counterterrorism cooperation and reshape the international community's collective response to terrorism in Africa, while emphasizing the importance of African-led and African-owned solutions. The summit is equally expected to provide a platform to review the nature of the threat of terrorism on the continent with a view to agreeing on concrete strategic priorities and measures to address this scourge. Heads of state and governments and high-level government officials across Africa, representatives of international organizations and multilateral institutions, members of the diplomatic corps and members of civil society groups are expected to attend the summits. After months of detailed planning and background work, the committee driving the presidential compressed natural gas initiative is set to deliver on President Tinubu's vision and promise to reduce the burden on increase in pump price on the masses. The first set of official assets for deployment and launching of the first anniversary of the Tinubu administration will be on May 29, and the assets are ready. Here are details of the initiative. The federal government, as part of the many interventions to reduce the burden of increase in pump price on the masses, provided 100 billion naira, which is part of the 500 billion palliative budget, to purchase 5,500 CNG buses and tricycles, 100 electric buses, and over 20,000 CNG conversion kits, alongside spurring the development of CNG refilling and electric charging stations. Bayo Ononuga, Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, says already the committee has delivered some major foundational reforms to enable the new CNG and electric vehicles future the President promised. After the removal of fuel subsidy on May 29, 2023, President Bola Tinubu launched the Presidential CNG Initiative in October last year to deliver cheaper, safer, and more climate-friendly energy. The CNG initiative was designed to deliver compressed natural gas, especially for mass transit. With necessary tax and duty waivers approved by President Tinubu in December 2023, the PCNGI committee is partnering with the private sector to deliver the promise. The private sector has responded with over $50 billion in actual investments in refueling stations, conversion centers, and mother stations. Also, a safety policy document on 80 standards and regulations for operators has been delivered and approved to ensure CNG conversions are done safely. The vision to get at least 1 million natural gas-propelled vehicles on our roads by 2027 will mark a major energy transition in our country's transportation industry. The use of more expensive diesel and PMS will gradually be phased out when many vehicles, including trucks, run on natural gas, which our nation has in abundance in at least 30 out of 36 states. Over 600 buses are targeted for production in the first phase that will be accomplished this year. Thousands of conversion kits for petrol-powered buses and taxis that want to migrate to CNG are also ready with CNG cylinders. The federal government intends to provide them at subsidized rates, especially to commercial vehicle drivers, to bring down the cost of public transportation. The PCNGI is working with agency partners and set to deliver 100 conversion workshops and 60 refueling sites spread across 18 states before the end of this year. Meanwhile, the Minister of State Petroleum Resources, Gas, Ekperikpe Epo, has assured the Akwa Ibom State Government of the Ministry's resolve to unlock the economic potential of gas resources in the state. The Minister stated this during a courtesy visit by Akwa Ibom State Governor Umok Basi Eno to his office at the NNPC Towers, Abuja. Lydia Sampson reports.
The governor, accompanied by Speaker Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly Udema Mutom and other key players from the state, said the visit was to solicit areas of cooperation in effectively harnessing untapped gas deposits in the state for economic development. He assured that Akwa Ibom is ready and willing to work with the federal government to build infrastructure towards harnessing gas resources in the state. The minister reiterates that gas development is the way to go, as it is regarded globally as a transition fuel.
I promise you that we will work in collaboration with your government to make sure we utilize the gas in Akwa Ibom for the development of Akwa Ibom and development of other parts of the country.
He says federal government is determined to work with stakeholders, including subnationals, to deepen gas development and utilization. In Abuja, Lydia Samson, NTA News.
Now to the spring meetings. It was a week-long set of meetings and conversations on the global economy at the spring meetings in Washington, D.C., with the Nigerian delegation led by the Minister of Finance, Wale Edun. Moplank Darko reports that amongst many things, Nigeria looks forward to the ratification of the third chair of the IMF for Sub-Saharan Africa. It also looks forward to increasing power generation from 4,000 megawatts to 6,000 in the next 6 months, as well as attracting various investments for the country.
We've come away with a bigger say for Africa through an additional chair, an additional seat on the board of directors of the IMF. We help to complete that process, and I think that is a major success for Africa as a whole. In terms of remittances, it is clearly one of the ways in which we can boost foreign exchange supply and investment, funding for investment in the country.
The policymakers who say they are mindful to tackle infrastructure, security and other challenges through prudent management of resources also had discussions with international money transfer organizations to set up a collaborative task force to drive economic growth in Nigeria.
Foreign portfolio investors
Still on the meeting,
has been very positive, and it shows in the numbers. We are doing everything possible to ensure that we have a stable exchange rate, and an exchange rate that is, that finds it's an adequate price discovery level. That is a process that will continue.
Still on the meeting, amidst efforts aimed at bringing back global economy to pre-pandemic levels, Nigeria's northern governors are meeting the leadership of the United Nations and other development partners on the sidelines of the just concluded IMF and World Bank meetings in Washington, D.C. The northern governors, including those of Kaduna, Kebbi, Jigawa, Sokoto, Niger, Zamfara and Benue states, led by the chairman of the Northwest Governors Forum and executive governor of Katsina State, Diko Umar Rada, are engaging governments and development partners for partnerships and support in critical sectors of ICT, energy, food security, education, climate change and financing, among other issues.
The Millennium Goals for SDG, we need to address the issue of insecurity.
Our fear is when we might just migrate into Zamfara.
Our people are ready to go back to bank.
We need support, we need research, we need a lot of collaboration with UN, and these things are ways we can come out or transition out of this crisis. Otherwise, there will be no future for our people.
But the idea is there and it's working very well. That's why we believe we must come together, look at the development partners, reach out to and people that can be able to assist us in terms of networking, in terms of support, in terms of linking us with relevant agencies.
Aside the United Nations delegation led by the Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed, the governors also met with delegations from the Economic Commission for Africa, the UNDP Regional Office for Africa, and the Food and Agriculture Organization and President of the Africa Finance Corporation on support for the growth of the Nigerian economy. Away from the spring meeting, business operators in the petroleum industry in Nigeria must shun profiteering or be shown the way out of the industry. Chairman of Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, said this in Gombe after meeting with Governor Muhammadu Inuwa. Emmanuel Akila brings us details.
After the brief meeting with Governor Muhammadu Inuwa at Government House Gombe, Aliko Dangote, who is a member of the National Economic Council, says his company decided to reduce the pump price of diesel, having observed that some business owners in the petroleum industry have been causing hikes in the prices of the products unnecessarily.
There are some people that have actually, held on to the business for a very, very long time. So, they were profiteering, and I think we decided that, look, diesel should not be, we can afford to sell it, at 1,000 naira, which is about 60% drop. Areas like here, Borno, Bauchi, and Co., it was selling for almost 1,718. So, but right now, I'm sure, in the next few days, you will not buy diesel more than 1,000, even 100, anywhere in Nigeria.
Dangote promises collaboration with the Ino Yahya administration. Governor Muhammad Ino Yahya presented the chairman of Dangote Group copies of the development agenda for Gombe State and a scorecard of his first tenure, giving assurance of working with Dangote Group to fast-track development of Gombe State. Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
In other news, the Procurement Department of the Nigerian Television Authority has conducted its first phase of bid opening exercise with various investors on ground to observe the pre-qualification exercise held at the headquarters of the NTA. Deborah Balagbubu brings us details.
Signing of the investors' attendance list kicked off the pre-procurement exercise. Then, bid opening commenced.
The requirement has already been stated in the newspaper advert. So the most important thing that you must technically fit to apply for this lot. Also, you must be financially buoyant.
Here, there's no problem, but we don't know what happens next. So we expect how it starts, it ends like that. It starts well, and we expect everything to go transparently.
Highlighting the principles governing procurement to include ensuring that goods and services needed are procured with due attention to credibility and efficiency, to give qualified bidders equal opportunity to compete for contract awarded, the DGNTA promises that all steps will follow due process.
We want to therefore assure you that the bidding exercise will be carried out in a transparent and credible manner, which you will all cherish.
8 categories with different reasons and locations have been laid down for bidding. In Abuja, Deborah Balagbubu, NTA News.
And the Industrial Training Fund says it will sustain its performance and generate useful ideas and strategies for the actualization of its mandate of training manpower for national development. Director General of the ITF, Dr. Afeez Oluwatoyin Ogun, said this at the 2023 Annual Performance Review meeting of the fund in Jos. Indeyang and Deyaba Gyang reports.
Annual review meeting affords the fund the opportunity to examine methods and approaches that will serve as basis for policies and programs that have direct bearing on the stakeholders and the organization. Director General and Chief Executive Officer of the Industrial Training Fund, Dr. Afeez Oluwatoyin Ogun, urged participants to explore opportunities for the actualization of mandate and corporate survival.
This review meeting is especially important, coming on the heels of recent policies unveiled by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu with a bearing on human capital development, which is our core mandate.
The Director General adds that its training program tagged Super is a major step taken by government to address the nation's economic challenges. In Jos, Indenyan and Deabagyang, NTA News.
To drug interception, officials of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency have netted 3 wanted alleged drug lords and intercepted an Oman-bound drug consignment. Salwa Khalil Ibrahim brings us details.
More than 2 months after they were declared wanted, operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, have arrested 3 members of an organized criminal group which specializes in illicit drug trafficking across Nigeria, South Africa, Mozambique, Europe and America, following the recent seizure of the single largest consignment of heroin at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos. A total of 51.9 kilograms of heroin was recovered from members of the drug cartel in an operation that began on the 10th of February 2024 at the airport's cargo terminal. The consignment was concealed in 15 cartons of 2,300 watt metal cutting machines. While the agency has secured interim forfeiture court order on hotel, mansions, vehicles and funds traced to members of the syndicate after arresting 4 of them, a manhunt was also launched for others who went underground. The effort, however, paid off when 2 of the wanted kingpins were arrested in Lagos and Oka, Anambra State. Another wanted member of the syndicate was equally nabbed in Lagos. In the same vein, the attempt by a suspect to export a drug consignment through the Terminal 2 of the Lagos Airport to Muscat, Oman, was intercepted by NDLEA officers when his luggage was searched. 20 big parcels of cannabis weighing 9.8 kilograms were discovered concealed in his bag. Also within the week under review, 25.2 kilograms of cannabis was recovered in Ondo and Bayelsa states and 1,250 pills of opioids in Adamawa state. In Abuja, Salwa Khalil Ibrahim, NTA News.
Talking tourism, Nigerians must be passionate about preserving their national treasures, which are testaments to the beauty of the nation's diversity, while developing a sense of pride in telling and sharing the story of the country to the world. These words were echoed by stakeholders at Picture Exposure on the Beauty of Nigeria in Lagos. Lynn Lenike reports that the Minister of Tourism, Lola Adejohn, was in attendance.
Nigeria is blessed with breathtaking scenery, rich cultures, heritage sites, fascinating and hospitable people capable of attracting domestic tourism. There's hardly any part of the country that does not have something unique to showcase. Sadly, this uniqueness is yet to be fully tapped to generate the needed revenue and employment for Nigerians. This forum is designed to deliberately highlight and promote Nigeria's history and tourism, where over 1,000 tourist sites cutting across the 36 states, including the FCT, were shown in pictures.
The journey of discovery is not in seeing new places, it's in seeing Nigeria with new eyes.
It is a paragon of tourism. Have you not heard about the Kogosi Warm Spring? That is the only one spring in the world.
The Minister of Tourism, Lola Adejohn, reflected on the importance of preserving and protecting the nation's treasures for future generations, adding that tourism should be part of schools' curriculum.
We work with the tourism industry, all the stakeholders, how we are going to teach and inculcate tourism in not only the communities but in Nigeria at large.
100 persons, institutions and organizations were recognized for their roles in promoting tourism in Nigeria. The Wonders of Nigeria Expo is a platform to celebrate the rich tourism potential and encourage the preservation of historical assets. In Lagos, Lynn Lenake, NTA News.
President of the Nigerian Senate, Godswill Akpabio, has been nominated by the Interparliamentary Union as a member of the Preparatory Committee for the 6th World Conference of Speakers of Parliament, billed for 2025. The General Secretary of the Interparliamentary Union communicated the information to the Senate President. The nomination letter indicated that the Preparatory Committee for the 6th World Conference of Speakers of Parliament will hold its first meeting at the IPU headquarters in Geneva from 16th to 17th of May 2024. The Interparliamentary Union World Conference of Speakers of Parliament aims to reinforce parliamentary dimension in the work of the UN and bridge the gap in international relations. In other issues, the Director of Special Duties, Nigerian Airspace Management Agency, Hamid Abba, emerges the new Executive Vice President for Africa and Middle East region of the International Federation of Air Traffic Controllers Association. His emergence was at the 63rd Annual Conference of the Global Air Traffic Controllers Body, which took place in Singapore. This is the first time in the 63 years history of the global aviation professional body that a Nigerian is elected on the executive board. And the remains of the former Minister of State Health, architect Gabriel Aduku, have been laid to rest in Ayingba, Kogi State. Ayodele Ibigbemi reports that individuals and groups from across the country attended the burial ceremony to pay their last respects.
Family, friends and associates gathered for a wake-up service at the deceased compound in Ayingba, followed by a funeral service at the Chapel of Restoration, Prince Abubakar Adu University, Ayingba. Reverend Chris Effiong delivered a sermon urging people to serve God truthfully. Attendees include family, friends, traditional rulers, representatives from various organizations, including former Governor of Kogi State, Captain Idris Wada, and Senator Adams Oshomole, remembered Aduku as a preacher and peacemaker.
He has fought a good fight. He has finished his course. We are praying so that we also will fight that good fight.
I'll miss him. He's my hero. He has been a great contributor to Nigeria. He loved everybody, no matter where you were from.
We've been together that long, not less than 60 years. So I'll miss him totally.
All his wealth is how to remain with others peaceful, that all of us should remain united.
He was a great man, a special human being, very gentle, very disciplined, very focused, very professional.
Late Gabriel Aduku was known for his diverse contributions, including designing the logo for the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in 1998, and serving as the Kogi State convener of PDP. He also served as Minister of State for Health and chaired the Revenue Allocation Committee of the National Constitutional Conference in 1994, which led to the 13% derivation formula in the 1999 Constitution. Age 80, he is survived by his wife, children and grandchildren. Ayodele Ibigbemi, NTA News.
And President Bola Tinubu has described the late former governor of Anambra State, Chukwuemeka Ezefe, as a man who puts justice, equity and integrity above any personal interest or desire. This was contained in his message to the family during the burial ceremony of the late former governor at his country home, Igboku Aguta local government area of the state. Indem Kalu completes the story.
This man whom we are celebrating today, we believe has finished well. And that is because he was patient enough to follow everything. He was not a proud person.
President Bola Tinubu, represented by the governor of Imo State, Senator Hope Uzodinma, commiserated with the family members, describing the late Ezefe as a man who served the nation diligently.
His assigning qualities, rare attributes of simplicity, people-oriented mindset.
Governor Soludo noted that the deceased was a man who lived out the true meaning of what he preached, promising to continue to improve on the legacies he left behind.
In all his life, in all ramifications of what he did, he showed fairness, he exuded equity, transparency, justice.
My father was a good man in the sense that he was good outside and even better in the house.
I'll miss all of our conversations. I'll miss him calling my name. He used to have a nickname for me, Udi.
He is a man who was all about progressivism for Nigeria.
Friends and well-wishers urged the children to continue to emulate the good legacies he left behind.
He's a detribalized man. His leadership quality was not that of going after material things.
The children and the entire members of the family at all times sustain those legacies he left behind. Those things we used to know him.
Late Chief Dr. Chukwuemeka Pius Ezefe Okwadike was the first civilian governor of Anambra State between 1992 and 1993. He died at 85 and is survived by his wives and children. Ndam Kalo, NTA News.
Talk some political matters. by linking up with our correspondent Paul Omokago in Akure to give us an update on the Ondo State APC governorship primary election, which actually took place today. Hello, Paul. Could you bring us up to speed?
Okay, Elizabeth, this is the dome here in Akure, and for the past 2 days, it's been a very busy primary by the All Progressive Congress. The primaries were actually held yesterday, but today they had to go back to Okitikupa local government area, where they have to do a reconduct of the election across 13 wards. And after that particular election, the panel, the 7-man panel that is conducting the election came back to Akure, and they've done collation. And what is happening now is that returning officers for each of the local government areas are giving the breakdown of results of the 16 aspirants that took part in the primary. That is what is happening right now. And after all the local government, they've gone around all the local governments, it's expected that the chairman of the election committee, who are supposed to be the governor of Kogi State, will now give the final announcement of the results.
All right, Paul, thank you for the information. We hope to get more from you subsequently. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Talking sports now. Match day 31 of the Nigerian top flight shockingly produced a solidarity away goal, as English FA Cup final will be a Manchester derby for the second season. Details with Bade Adeleye on Sports Update. In Sports Update ends the news segment. Captain Claire is still on standby to reel out more reports. Just stay with us.
Get in!